What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. In this episode, as a part of my 2023 predictions series, we'll be looking at players to watch this season. Let's get into it. Just before we get into it, I can see that 40% of you that are watching this video or mainly my other videos aren't subscribed. So if you are one of those people, please hit that subscribe button. Help us just reach that 4,000 goal that's coming up. And then who knows where we can go from there. But let's get into my players to watch this season. So when I'm making a list like this, it's kind of hard to just, come up with a five bunch of players where they're from all different parts of the club. You could almost say all five of the players to watch are the ones that we drafted or the people that we've traded in. So, your Billy Frantons, Tom Mitchell, Bobby Hill, etc., etc. Some of those will make the list, but I wanted to look at players where they're already established, they're already in our best 22, and where 2023 will take them. So let's start off with our captain, Scott Pendlebury. With the acquisition of Tom Mitchell, who slots straight into our midfield, straight into our best 22, that takes a midfield spot away, okay? Jack Crisp runs through the middle. Braden Maynard can run through the middle. You've got Nick Dacos, who's training predominantly as a midfielder now. He's going to run through the middle, obviously. Where does that leave Scott Pendlebury? We tested Scott in the half-back line a couple games last season, but there were games where we needed to chuck him into the middle to kind of get it on our side. The Kangaroos game, the Essendon game in that last quarter really turned on its head because Scott Pendlebury is in the middle and not, off half back. But now we can't, he's 34. I'm sorry, Scott, if you're younger than that, but I think he's 34. We have to stop relying on Scott Pendlebury to come and win us games through the middle. We've got a nice young midfield brigade coming up. We need to give them more run time. Jack Crisp more run time. Braden Maynard, Nick Dacos, like I just mentioned, those players. We can't keep relying on Scott Pendlebury. So where does he go? It's been said that he's going to play predominantly on that half-back line. Now, we say that Scott Pendlebury has an amazing football IQ, an Einstein-level football IQ. Well, not really. Well, Einstein didn't really know much about football. He had a big IQ. So an Einstein-level IQ, but for football instead of physics, right? So that's where Scott Pendlebury lands. Half-back line. Yes, he's older. He's not super quick, and he'll admit that he's not the fastest. But what he's going to do is he's going to see the whole play. We're going to have another general down back. And like we say, he's going to be that quarterback in our back line who's going to be able to set up kicks, able to set up runs, give it off to Isaac Quain or Darcy Moore, John Noble, whoever's running around him. But the thing is with Scott playing in that half-back line, which he will do a very, very good job, and he probably will get stints through the middle, but not as much as he was last season. What is going to happen when he's playing on a really quick half forward, a young half forward that maybe runs circles around him? I don't think it will happen all too often, but that's something that we have to keep in mind as well, where he might have games where he's dishing him out and he's quarterbacking the ball, but there might be games where players do run circles around him, the older body, slow and stuff like that. That's why he's on my top list of players to watch for season 2023, because we want him to keep going on. He probably has 2 or 3 more seasons in him. It's a very new role for him, but because he's going to be staying there for the whole season, it's an even permanent role for him. So I want to see how he goes. We know he's going to do great, but I still am very interested to see how he goes next season. Another guy that's kind of in the same boat as Scott Pendlebury is Steele Sidebottom. Now, at the end of season 2021, I pretty much said that, not that Steele needs to go, but that he was just out of it. There wasn't really he didn't really show anything in 2021 that said to me, okay, this guy's going to play for another 4 years, and his form was dipping. And then 2022 happens, and he had just an amazing run of form. We saw the Steele of old, the Steele of 2018 and 2019 come out. He's on the wing. He's he's creating chances. He's tackling. He's getting all these disposals, being a general on that wing as well. Now, still, same about as Scott Pendlebury because he's on the older side of the Collingwood Football Club list. So what does that mean and why is he on my players to watch? Steele a couple of months ago said that, he'd love to play every single game. He's probably got 2 or 3 more seasons left in him. But if he has to play in the VFL or sit out a game because there's depth, because there's a young guy vying for that wing position, he is more than happy to. Now, this is a bit cheeky that I've got him on here because although he's a player to watch and how his season unfolds, I'm also watching if he gets dropped because I want to see players step up. So I know that if Steele Sidebottom gets dropped or is rested, it's because we have that depth now for someone to come up, and that someone could be Ed Allen. So he's in my list of players to watch on the same vein as Steele Sidebottom because I think Ed Allen, and after what Jeremy Howe's been saying and how he's going to play on the wing, 194 centimeters, big body, athletic, quick, he could be our future wingman. So we might see Steele dip a little bit, but Ed Allen come up and take his spot, which is perfect, and it's what Steele predicted. The third guy on my players to watch list is Dan McStay. Now, Dan McStay is a player where he hasn't kicked over 28 goals in a season, so he's never kicked 30 goals in a season. If you asked Collingwood fans halfway through last season, oh, we're going to get Daniel McStay here, they'll be like, why? He's a waste, he's a flop, blah, 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 opposition supporters and stuff like that. And I guess I was kind of on that side of the fence as well. Until you start watching Brisbane Lions games more, you see that they're not really using him the way we're going to be utilising him. You got to think that he's come into a side where we haven't had a big key forward in so bloody long. Myercheck started as a defender, came to Collingwood, put him into the forward line, and for the last 5 or 6 years has just been getting belted pillar to post because he's our main forward target and he's going to get the best defender all the time. Dan McStay comes in to play second folly or first folly to Brody Myercheck, however you want to see it. Maybe, Darcy Cameron rests there, Mason Cox rests there as well. So now we've got 3 or 4 big guys that can command the ball, they command the first, second, and third best defenders, and it opens up the forward line for a little bit more crumbing players and stuff like that, which is very, very exciting. Do I think Dan McStay is going to kick 40 plus goals like Myercheck did this year? Look, probably not, but I see him working in tandem with the forward line where I don't need McStay to kick 2 goals a game. I need him to take the first best or second best defender from the opposing side, make a contest. If he's not going to mark the ball, he's going to bring it to ground, then our crumbs around him work well. I want to see him, high half forward line, leading out, creating space because you've got that second best defender, leaving, Brody Myercheck's not going to have 2 or 3 defenders going up against him. Mason Cox won't have 2 or 3 defenders going up against him either. So these are the players that you need to kind of, I'm not saying that he's just going to be a dummy forward because he will kick a bunch of goals, but it's just going to be interesting to see how we utilise him more than the Brisbane Lions did. So 4 and 5 on the list of players to watch, they kind of go hand in hand. Player 4 to watch for me is Jack Ginnivan. Now, kicked over 40 goals last season, came off the rookie list. Just, what's there to say? Absolutely phenomenal season last season. Bags and bags of goals. Even after all the media pressure that he copped, he still was able to produce, and he produced well. I've put him on this list because I need him to crumb another 35 plus goals this season. I don't want him to be a one hit wonder or one season wonder, kind of like Jaden Stevenson was, which I don't think he will be. I think Ginnivan has a lot of tricks to his belt. Does he have to add more? Maybe more defensively? Yes, he does. But I don't see him slotting out of this team because he's going to take a really good small defender. He's going to command attention. If all the opposition got their attention on Jack Ginnivan, the other crummers in the team or the other small forwards in the team have got no attention on them. So again, kind of like that Dan McStay where not a dummy, but they're going to command attention, and we know he's going to get free kicks because how rough they are with him. But we also know that he's going to try his ass off to emulate season 2022 that he had. And yeah, he's not going to kick 45 goals this season, I don't think. 35 plus or even 30 plus would be a big win for me, especially with the players that we've got as depth players that could come in if he's having a bad game. You got to think that last season he had a couple of off games, but there wasn't anyone to take his place, if you know what I mean. So you kind of had to keep him in the team because you needed that small forward. But now there's players that could replace him if he's having a low game. So depth players are just absolutely amazing for first team players because they keep the first team players on their toes and they need to have good games, which leads into players 5. Now, the player that I've got here is Joe Richards, a mature-aged recruit from Wangaratta who played under Ben Reid, former Collingwood superstar Ben Reid. He was coaching him. He was picked up in the draft. Now, Joe Richards hadn't had an AFL team look at him until last season, where he had a bunch of teams come up, interview him, watch his games and stuff like that, but Collingwood were the most interested. And this guy, from all reports and stuff that I've seen, he is absolutely explosive in that forward line. He's not a tall player. He's going to be small. And why I mentioned Jack Ginnivan and the depth is because Joe Richards is one of those guys, along with Bobby Hill as well, who is just another player to watch, but along with Bobby Hill as well, who could take Ginnivan's spot or maybe play alongside Ginnivan. But I think that we get a Joe Richards debut this season, definitely, because he's one of those players who is very exciting. I think it might have been Braden Maynard or Steele Sidebottom, one of the older players on a radio interview came out and said Joe Richards is looking very exciting. Or I think it might have been whoever it was, put his name out there. And he is one of those players where mature age, so he's been trying to get into the AFL for a while, trying to play VFL, but COVID cut it down, goes back to country footy, plies his trade, gets picked up by the biggest club in the land. He's going to fight tooth and nail to play senior footy, and he's definitely going to get his chance. And we might see, maybe not to the extent of 40 plus goals like Ginnivan, but if Joe Richards gets a chance early on in the season, we might see a Ginnivan-esque performance from him this season. So that is why he is in my players to watch. But anyway, guys, that's just been my video of my 2023 players to watch this season. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What other players should we need to be watching out for this season? But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll see you later. Recruit from Wrangell. A mature age recruit from Wrangell. Oh my god. A mature age recruit. Why can't I say these words? A mature age recruit from